Welcome back to another video, everyone. My name is Kyle. I'm a full-time options trader and founder of Opinicus Holdings, the premier options trading community. Today we have a quick trade review going over my trade in Beyond Meat, ticker symbol BYND. This trade took place on Friday, February 24th. Let's jump right into it. All right, so taking a look at the BYND setup here, we're going to go ahead and start on the daily chart. And this was a post-earnings trade. BYND had just reported earnings. We did have a slight gap. It was posted in the pre-market prep notes. This is part of the Traders Think Tank for those of you that are unfamiliar. Basically, the idea was BYND bull bias, meaning I don't want to short this stock. So if it does give a short setup, I'm going to ignore it. I only want the bullish setup. So we have a bull bias. It was a gap. Daily was gapping higher. And the idea was to watch for strength above 20 to test 20.5, 20.75. That's the 200 MA, 21.35, and 22. And the option selection of choice was the 20 call. I went with the same day expiration options. This may not be right for you. Maybe you want to look at a different option. I'm just telling you what I did. And so looking at the daily setup, what we have here is a daily base. This has been basically in a range since September of last year, just trading sideways. We do have a bit of a Wyckoff spring here. If you're unfamiliar with that, you can Google it. This is also a concept that we go over in the Options Mastery course. And basically, the idea here is that this is an accumulation base. We have a catalyst that is making the stock gap up. And so that is why we want to keep the bullish bias on this stock. Shorts are pretty much done. This thing is way off the highs, down a whopping 95% in looks like about 2 years. And so I'm not really interested in shorting this stock. This is a long setup in my mind. It does have 40% short interest. And so that is what we were looking at. And so getting into the actual intraday setup, again, the idea was to watch for strength above 20. Basically, we just want to see that buyers continue to push the stock higher than that after hours high, that post earnings high. Now, occasionally you will see pre-market is below that after hours high and they just sell it off. That's a setup I'm not going to take. And so to make this easier, I'm just going to set the bullish trigger at 20. And so when we get into the actual intraday, the 1 minute here, it opened just with some consolidation. You can see some tails on these candles here showing a little bit of buying pressure. I was not really interested until this candle, this 4th minute candle, and then the 5th minute candle where it really started to break the trigger, break session highs, break the trigger. And so what we have here is some consolidation at the open. I actually got involved with the stock once it starts making those fresh session highs right here, a little bit ahead of 20, and sold some just ahead of that first target, the 200 MA. Now, the reason I sold some so quickly is because I don't know for sure whether or not the 200 MA is going to break. Now, I'm not someone who predicts or anything like that. I just react to what the stock is showing me. And I know that the 200 MA, even though it is just a mathematical calculation, a lot of traders are going to be looking at this level. And it may be an area that traders are potentially attempting to short this thing. And so just to protect myself, I take some of the trade-off, lock in some profits, and we see what continues to happen with price action. And so what we saw happen here was 20 continued to hold. You can see that 20 level there on the chart. If I make this full screen, we'll be able to see it a little easier. So 20 continued to hold. We do have a nice tight consolidation here, and then it breaks higher. I took more of the trade-off right here into session highs into the 200 MA. You can see my executions here. So if we take a look at this. And so basically I'm taking some off right here, as I mentioned, more into the 200 MA, more into on my level here, you see recent highs. And basically what I'm looking at here are these daily highs. Now the chart is showing us that this area is resistance. And so I have to be aware of this. This is why this particular setup is not really an A+ setup. If we had an A+ setup, the stock would be gapping above this local resistance. And so this kind of gives us some pause as traders. We need to be taking profits into these highs right here. That's why I had it on the chart. And that's why I manage the trade in the way that I did. Again, taking more off into those highs. Now, again, we're just watching it at this point to see what price is telling us. And price just put in a consolidation here, looking like buyers were defending that 200 MA. And so the next leg in this trade is going to be up through those recent highs, through those daily highs, which is really going to trigger an explosive move. And you see that is exactly what played out. We had that explosive move on increasing volume. Again, you can look at my executions here. I was scaling out into strength of the move, basically joining the ask and letting any chasers who wanted this thing take my contracts away from me. Missed a little bit of upside here, but we can see this reversal signal right here done on high volume, and that was the high of the day. So this is the BYND trade review. Hope you guys got some value from this. If you did, go ahead and leave a comment below. If you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to me in the Traders Think Tank, and I will see you in the next one.